Immortality possible? World's first human head transplant successfully carried out. The world's first human head transplant has been successfully carried out after an 18-hour procedure in China, it was today claimed. Italian neurosurgeon Sergio Canavero announced an experiment to reattach the head of a corpse to a body had been achieved as planned. He said the test showed it was possible to reattach the spine, nerves, blood vessels, veins and skin from the head to the body. The next step will be to carry out the procedure using a live, but brain-dead, human being who has agreed to organ donation, before the first attempt at a living person with a functioning brain is made. Dr. Canavero is dubbed Dr. Frankenstein for his bid to be the first medic to carry out a full head transplant on a living human. He claims eventually a successful head transplant will lead to immortality for those who can afford it, and mega-rich business tycoons whose bodies are failing will be queuing up to buy the procedure and fuse their age-old head onto the body of an athletic person in their 20s or 30s. Professor Canavero, director of the Turn Advanced Neuromodulation Group, announced the success at a press conference in Vienna today. The procedure was carried out by a team led by Dr. Xiaoping Ren, who last year grafted a head onto the body of a monkey. Mr. Canavero promised a full report of the Harbin Medical University team's procedure and a time frame for the live transplant within a few days. He said, "For too long nature has dictated her rules to us. We're born, we grow, we age and we die. For millions of years humans has evolved and 110 billion humans have died in the process. That's genocide on a mass scale. We have entered an age where we will take our destiny back in our hands. It will change everything. It will change you at every level." The first human head transplant, in the human mode, has been realized. The surgery lasted 18 hours. The paper will be released in a few days. Everyone said it was impossible, but the surgery was successful. He said the next step of using a brain-dead organ donor would pave the way for a real operation. In 2015 Mr. Canavero announced he had a volunteer for the first live operation. He described how he would have just seconds to decapitate disabled volunteer Valery Spridonov, 31, before attaching his live head to an able-bodied dead donor patient's body. He said within minutes blood would be flowing between his brain and new body and the whole operation would be over in under an hour, but post-surgery procedures could go on more than 24 hours. Speaking about the corpse procedure today, he said, "And that is the final step for the formal head transplant for a medical condition which is imminent. It will be for a medical, neurological condition, not for life extension. This is a medical condition for people who are suffering awfully, so it isn't a joke." There has been criticism from the medical world as a whole, amid claims the procedure on a corpse has negligible scientific or medical benefits. Dr. James Fields, NHS Principal Research Scientist at the University Hospital of South Manchester's Transplant Centre, said, "Unless Canavero or Ren provide real evidence that they can perform a head, or more appropriately, a whole-body transplant on a large animal that recovers sufficient function to improve quality of life, this entire project is morally wrong." Perhaps far more worryingly, this endeavor appears to revolve around immortality, but in each case a body is needed for the transplant, and therefore a human needs to die as part of the process. Where does Canavero propose to get the donor body from if the goal is to tackle the laws of nature? Has Canavero considered how he will tackle acute rejection of the constituent parts of the head? What will rejection of the skin, muscles, eyes, and brain manifest as? I hope this is not just egotistical pseudoscience. Dr. Jan Schneep, professor of neuroscience at the University of Oxford, added, "I find it inconceivable that ethics committees in any reputable research or clinical institutions would give a green light to living human head transplants in the foreseeable future. Indeed, attempting such a thing given the current state of the art would be nothing short of criminal." Dr. Hunt Badger, president-elect of the American Association for Neurological Surgeons, told CNN, "I would not wish this on anyone. I would not allow anyone to do it to me, as there are a lot of things worse than death." As a neuroscientist, I would really quite like the general public to be reassured that neither I nor any of my colleagues think that beheading people for extremely long-shot experiments is acceptable. It is not. Mr. Canavero announced in September 2016, a Frankenstein-like plan to reanimate human corpses in trials to test if it is possible to reconnect the spinal cord of a head to another body and then stimulate the nervous system with electrical pulses. In an article for the Surgical Neurology International, Dr. Canavero pointed to the Frankenstein story, where the monster was brought to life using corpses and electricity, and experiments in the 1800s on dead criminals. In May this year, scientists carried out a head transplant on a rat. They fixed the heads of smaller donor rats onto the bodies of larger ones, but the two-headed creatures survived for an average of just 36 hours. However, it was managed without causing blood loss-related brain damage to the donor, said the team including Mr. Canavero.